Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're just going to do a quick how-to video installing a rear Mopar brace, rear strut tower brace, rear strut bar, whatever you want to call it, on a Challenger. I'm actually doing an air suspension install on this Challenger. This Mopar rear brace was already installed, so in order to get this air suspension in here, I need the rear bottom carpet mat and all the lining in here to, get everything installed correctly. So I do have to mat this out and get all of the carpet installed. So we're going to run through steps on getting the carpet and the side carpet linings cut out. I'm going to show you guys the measurements, how I approached it. I didn't use the templates, but let's get into it now and I'll show you guys how I did it. Alright guys, so this brace was already installed on the car. We had no lining. We're going to have to get this installed correctly so we can utilize all the carpets in the trunk. What we're going to do first is just go ahead and get this thing out of here. So it's 18 mil. Just impacting it off. Obviously you could use a socket wrench, but trying to make this easy as possible, of course, time efficient. So alright, and then one up on the top of our shock here is a 15 mil. Can't get to it with the impact, so I'm just going to back it off. The wrench, 15 mil. Loosen this one up as well. Guys, we got this beauty on out of here. This thing is really nice. Alright, now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get all of our hardware together here, so don't want to lose any of this, obviously. So I'm just gonna leave this right on the strut with the washer. Do the same thing over here. Just putting it on the opposite one. There we go. We got our hardware for the back right here. Grab this for now, hold on to that, and now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go ahead and try to start mocking up this carpet so we can figure out how we're going to lay it out with that actual brace. Alright guys, we got our carpet liner in here. Got it pushed all the way back. As you can see, it's flush, so we know where we're at. Is in here pretty good, so this is where we're going to have to start figuring out how this can fit with our strut tower brace. So I'm going to grab the brace and we're going to see where this falls onto this carpet. So let's get it now. Alright, we got our brace. Let's see where this thing falls. I'm curious to see. Alright, so it looks good from here. The real question is, where is it hitting on the back? So let's go look. Alright guys, so we are in the back seat here, trying to see where this falls. Alright, so it might be hard for you to see, but it's probably missing about an inch from the bolts. So this is the stud right there, so you can get a finger in between it. Alright. Looks like it's just barely touching right here on this edge, so we're going to have to do a little bit of mapping out here, and then we're going to see if we can get this aligned so it'll fit with the actual brace. Alright guys, maybe this can give you a little better view from that crappy back view we had. You can see where those welds are touching, right where the bar meets. Those welds are hitting this back half of this carpet liner here. So what I'm going to do is I got a Sharpie in hand, and I'm going to go around this line here, and I'm going to see if we can get a little bit of that cut out so it'll fit perfect. Alright guys, so as you can see, I started to outline this bar with the Sharpie. That's how I approached this to get the initial measurements on where I wanted to cut. As you know, this does come with a template, but I don't believe the template is that accurate, and I really didn't want to go that deep where they have it outlined and cut around the bar, you know, where the big oval shapes are. I didn't want to go that deep, and I felt as though that it was a bit drastic and that it could be approached a little bit differently, and that's why I chose to go this route. So this is how I got my initial measurements. You know, I took it off and then I, you know, brought it into the garage and then measured from there just to see that my outline with the Sharpie made sense, and it did. It, you know, lined up and everything. But I just didn't want to go too crazy. I wanted to start off, you know, just with little cuts to see where it kind of started to fall in line. I knew it wasn't going to work off the first try. I figured, you know, I was going to at least probably be doing 2 or 3 different cuts until I actually got it in the range of where it needed to be. I do believe that this can get done in one shot, but you just have to have the measurements initially. I was going in blind, of course, and I was just trying to, you know, feel my way out and figure it out. But now I'm going to give you guys the actual measurements you need to get this correct in the end, so you don't have to go through all of this. But just some of the things I went through to get to where I did. You know, I started off with the Dremel. You know, I went through a whole bunch of discs, probably about 7 or 8. Disc numero 3. Fourth disc, guys, let's go. 5th disc, hopefully the last. We'll see. Round 6. Broke another disc, guys. I got one more. They would work for a few inches and then just, you know, rip apart. And although it was cutting very clean and it was working for me, it just wasn't time efficient. It was taking forever. I kept breaking them. I had to, you know, unscrew it out, put a new disc on. It just wasn't efficient at all. So what I decided to do is get a cutoff wheel and put it on an angle grinder. And then that's how I actually got real cuts, quick, efficient cuts. And although it probably wasn't quite as clean as the Dremel was, it still got me clean, accurate cuts in a, you know, quick manner, and it made it a lot easier than when I was using the Dremel. So what I did is I kind of just moved up a little bit every time when I went from a test fit in the car to bringing it back to cut. I was using tape, as you can see, blue painter's tape, outlining my lines just to make it clean, efficient, make sure it was, you know, on point. I would measure before I would actually put the tape down. So that's, you know, how I approached getting to the point where I got this cut out enough for the bar to fit. So after, you know, 3 or 4 trial runs, you know, test fitting, bringing it back, you know, I did finally get it cut to where I wanted it to. I did clean it up with the Dremel after the angle grinder cuts just to make it as clean as possible, make it look, you know, like it's factory. You're trying to keep it clean. But let's go ahead and get into the final measurements now, just so you guys have the measurements from the beginning. You don't have to do all this guesstimation work. You can literally just measure these measurements I'm going to give you, cut it out to spec, and it should fit perfectly when the bar drops in. So let's review those measurements now. Alright guys, we're here for the final measurements of the carpet mat for the cutout. So this is where the brace obviously meets the back seat, where it gets bolted down. You know, we didn't actually cut the oval shaped things for the bars. I managed to just cut out a square. Like I said, I do think this is a little less drastic than that. You know, it took me a while to get to this point, but I do think that this might look a little bit cleaner in the long run. But, you know, that's just my opinion. But what I'm going to do is give you guys the measurements for anybody who wants to do it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from here to that bottom corner on both sides, okay? And then we're also going to measure from here to here, okay? So get the measuring tape here. Alright guys, so the first measurement we're going to do here is right from the bottom corner here to the bottom corner here. So if you start right there on that edge, it might be hard to see with that glare, but it's exactly 7 inches. So 7 inches in is exactly where you want to be. Alright. Same thing, guys. 7 inches on both sides. Alright. See? Don't mind my dry, ashy hand. But right there is 7 inches. Alright. So 7 inches in on both sides, guys. Alright. 7 inches. And then for the inner cut here, got it at 1.5 inches, okay? 1.5 inches in. 7 inches in, cut up to 1.5 inches. Alright. Alright guys, after a lot of trial and error and test fits, we finally got this thing in here. She's looking pretty good. If you can see it, it's right up against the mat, you know, right where we cut it. We go from the back here. Guys, look. See, bolted in. It's really not, you know, too far. I mean, we got a little bit, maybe like not even a finger's worth of gap between here, but that gap has to be here for this bar to fit, because this is where it's hitting. But this came out pretty good in my opinion. I think for the cuts, you know, being minimal, it came out, you know, really good fitment. I think that it actually looks good from the inside when you're looking into the car. You can't really see the cuts where the brace actually is mounting. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how these cuts came out. So from here, we just have to do the cutting of the side carpets now, the ones that go actually onto the side of the inner lining of the trunk. And we just have to get those cutouts for where the brace is actually mounting to the upper shock mount. And then from there, we can get all this carpet installed. So let's go ahead and get into cutting these side carpets now. Alright guys, so the Mopar strut bar brace does come with templates for you to cut out the carpet, you know, the bottom mat carpet, and also the side carpet, the moldings. Now, they want you to cut these out, obviously, you know, along these lines would be the template, but even so, like, I want to take the one that we should use, essentially. This would have been it. This is a Challenger, so this would be the 08 and up, 08 and up Dodge Challenger, okay? Now, this probably would be the best use of the template, and I still think that it's not right, you know what I mean? It's just really, it's really weird, because, you know, this would fall in line with the, you know, arch right here, floor arch. This kind of gets us on this line right here, but I mean, where I actually have my hole where we got it is nowhere near where this is. So I would recommend not using the templates. That's just my personal opinion. I went in completely freestyle on these. So what I did is I actually started with the passenger side. I had this in the car, and then I just, you know, put the brace in and started, you know, feeling around and started mapping out from there. So I'm going to give you guys the measurements, you know, for where these should be cut, so you'll know exactly where the, you know, holes need to be at. But in my opinion, this was just the easiest way to go about it, guys. You know, especially for installation purposes, you know, how you can move these and just get right to it. You know, it just makes it really easy. And like I said, some of these, you know, other cars do have splits of their mats in certain places just for fitment and form issues, you know, when they go to install them. So, you know, in my opinion, this is pretty factory, you know, as factory as we can get it to look, you know, considering that there's a aftermarket brace in there. So I think they came out really good, especially when they're installed in the car. I did remove a lot of this, you know, extra matte padding here, you know, just to keep it clean right around the hole there. But, you know, other than that, I think they came out really good, guys. Especially when they're installed, they should be perfect, flush, go right around our brace ends, and, you know, you would never know. Alright guys, so we are on the passenger side carpet form. This square is a 2" by 2". Alright, it is 2" by 2". So now we need to figure out exactly where to place our 2x2 square in this carpet form. So the easiest way I can give you guys a reference point into where to put this square is this corner right here. So we're basically just going to be measuring for that corner, and then from there you can just put in a 2x2 square. So the easiest way to do it is take your measuring tape. I'm going to press it right up against this back of the carpet form right there. So if we're looking at it here, It comes in right at about 8.5 inches. All right. Now this might be maybe just a hair after 8.5, but I am pure trash when it comes to measurement. All right, guys. So don't expect me to be like, oh, it's 8 3/4 or 8 5/8. I'm still in a 5th grade measuring level, guys. So bear with me. I apologize, but as you can see, up against that, and it comes right in at about 8.5 inches. All right. Now, you want to find the middle spot of this bend right here. And what I'm going to do is measure right to that corner. So we know this is about 8.5 in, and then this is probably right under 6 inches. Alright, so this is 6 inches. Right above it is where our line needs to be. So, you know, roughly 6 inches from the top of this to this corner is where you can put a circle, and then from there measure 2 inches around, and you have your 2-inch square cut out, and then you can just cut a line right to the square for access and installation. So I lost my measuring tape, but that should be good, guys. So like we said, this is about 8.5, maybe a hair more than 8.5, and this is just about 6, maybe a hair under 6. This is a 2x2, so that should give you placement on your passenger side carpet form. Alright, guys, we are on to the driver's side. So this one is probably going to fall into about the same measurements as the other one. It's kind of how I went about doing this one, is I took measurements on the passenger side and tried to transfer them to the driver's side, and it kind of gave me a layout and mapped it out for me where I needed to be. But we're going to measure this exactly, and I'm going to tell you the exact measurements of what this needs to be. So again, guys, this can be a 2x2 square. This one is actually almost 2.5 inches. I went a little bit longer on this one, although it wasn't needed. This actually could come down a hair, so you can actually see it perfectly flush. This has just the littlest gap between the bar end and the mat here, but it's not too bad, honestly. But you know, if we can, you know, if you're doing this fresh, no holes, I mean, you can bring it down a hair. So you can keep this square 2.5 or 2x2, excuse me. And we're going to get into the measurements of where this needs to be. So we're going to go for this corner again. So I had this on a flat surface. This is the driver's side. We're measuring for this corner, and then from there you can just make a 2x2 square. All right. Now, first thing is we're going to find what the measurement is to right here. Okay, guys. So I'm actually going to put this perfectly in the corner. It almost aligns up with my line, and it puts us right at it about 9 inches, guys. Actually, it's just a hair over 9 inches. Okay. So right at about, you know, 9 1/8 maybe. Remember, guys, I told you I'm trash at measurements, so don't judge me on my 3rd grade measurement level. That should be perfect, okay? So that's right where you want to fall in line. Now, like I said, on the cut I made, I brought this a hair high. There is a small gap. It's really minimal, but, you know, to be perfect, I think it could have been brought down a hair. So if we're looking to measure for this side, we want it to come down a hair, okay? Because we don't want it to be as high as this one is. So if we look, if we brought this directly down to about a little bit over 6 inches, it would have been perfect. So if you want, you can go right at it about 6 inches, and that should put you at the right height. Oh, losing it, guys. That should put you at the right height this way, so that you can make a perfect 2x2 square. All right, so if this was down a hair, we would be looking at about 6 inches diagonally. All right, and then we would be looking at about 9 inches going this way for this point here, and then you could put a 2x2 square, cut it out. I know this is kind of, a makeshift way of measuring this and, figuring out exactly where these need to be, but this is the best way I think I can bring it to you guys to, understand and, see exactly where these need to be cut. That's essentially how I figured it out. I went in, started pushing it around, felt it out, started putting tape on it, measuring it, and then just really went from there. And then I took my measurements for my passenger and then brought it to the driver. So, 2 by 2 squares. Show you guys the measurement one more time. Set it right at about 9. Alright. And if we go this way, go this way right onto the edge. You can see that 6 is a little bit higher than where we got it, which would give you the drop down that I'm saying to give you that perfect clearance. So hope these measurements will transfer into your car and then, make this a very easy thing to map out so you don't have to go guesstimating, and, just going in blind and feeling it out like I did, so. All right, guys, we finally got our trunk carpets all cut to spec. Might be hard to see, but there's our window for that. There's our window for the driver's side. And there's our cutout for the back. Now, this should just drop right in. All the carpets and everything are ready for installation. So let's go ahead and get our brace in here and see what the fitment is with the carpets. All right, guys, we got our brace. Ideally, this should just drop right in here. So, as you can see, it fell right into place. It fell right in the back. I got all our screws and bolts here, so let's go ahead and throw these things on here. And if you look, too close there, but look, you can just push this back. I got the washer around, okay? And this is just an easy window for access for installation or removal of our brace. And get right to the top of that stud right there. Do that one as well to show you guys. So, wash it right over. And we got our nut right onto the stud. Then when it's in, obviously we want to torque it down, but you can close up the window, or the split leading to the window, I should say. And if you've seen a lot of different trunks or familiar with other vehicles, a lot of them do have splits in the carpets for, form and function of them getting into the car. So honestly, in my opinion, this almost looks stock aside from the cutouts. We got the windows cut out perfect. All right, so those two are in there. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like on the back. All right, guys, so here's our back view. Bolts aren't torqued down, just, pretty tight on there. Just to, like I said, this is a rough fitment. I do have to take this all back out because I am doing an air suspension build. That is the reason I did this, is because I am utilizing this mat to mount all my air suspension components, but obviously we couldn't run this brace without having that mat to put the stuff on there. So all our components needed somewhere to mount. We needed our carpet, so we had to make this fit with the carpet in order to get everything in here correctly and installed cleanly. But if you look, guys, barely any gap right here. Can't even get my finger in between it. Really, the reason this has to be cut is for the bar on this bend here to be able to sit in the actual spot that it needs to. So there we go, guys. She's in, looking really good. And in my opinion, this was a lot easier than using the templates that this bar came with. So there's our final product, guys. See, she looks really clean. On her right up in there. That's clean. These cuts should allow for a perfect fitment of the carpets along with your Mopar brace.